Eurofit Auto Centres, the leading MOT and service centres in West Midlands, are recruiting technicians, MOT testers and managers. There's a starting salary of £30,000 based on experience, and a minimum 5 years experience is necessary. For details, call Rashad at Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045. That's Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045.
Northern Gas Heating, celebrating 24 years of reliable heating and renewable energy solutions for your home. We have unbeatable offers on gas boilers, fully installed by our professional engineers. If your business or home is paying high...
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wa imamil mursaleen. Sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Allahumma faqihna fid din wa alimna ta'wil wa ja'alna min khayrati ummati Sayyidina Muhammadin alayhi afdalus salati wa tamu taslim. Allahumma la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. We seek Allah's protection from knowledge that does not benefit, from a heart that has no khushu, from a nafs that's never had enough, from an eye that does not tear, and from a dua that's not heard. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ramadan Radio Wolves. I'm sorry that we're currently not on the radio. We're just through Facebook at the moment. I'm just restarting the system, and hopefully we'll be back up and running then. So welcome. We entered another month of Ramadan, another year of Ramadan come by, and we are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to be one of those blessed people who have entered the month of Ramadan, okay, which is truly a blessed month, and we'll speak about that a bit later on. What I want to do is actually the kind of first half. The plan was the first half. The second half we'll speak about the Prophet ﷺ's Ramadan and how he spent his Ramadan, and we speak a bit about the blessings of Ramadan, the Sehri, the Iftar, Tarawih, etc. The key points there. But a couple of topics I want to address. The first one is, as has happened again, we've entered Ramadan and we've had this split Ramadan. And unfortunately, what happens, but the part is unfortunate that we've had a split Ramadan. You can say it's unfortunate as well. But the unfortunate part is how people react to that. Okay, and I came across a few posts of, oh look, this is the moon and what's going on, etc. Let me just clarify the positions, and I think this is important for people to know what the distinction here is about seeing the moon. And you can say almost the moon of the mind. So calculation, that's the difference here. Those that started Ramadan on Saturday have done it based on calculation. And I'm not saying it's wrong. It's a position that people follow. My issue has always been along that I think masajid should be upfront with people and inform them exactly what it is. So we're following Saudi Arabia, which is fine. It's important to know exactly what Saudi Arabia are doing it based on. The moon was not possible to sight the moon. So you've got UAE next door, who had to use a powerful telescope, etc., and get these CG images, etc., just to identify the moon. And yet in Saudi Arabia, you've got, we've seen it with our naked eye, yet it was cloudy all over. And you had live pictures of that. You had cameras there. You're doing it based on calculation. Just be honest with people and say, this is it. It's based on calculation. And I think then there wouldn't be as much of an uproar. Because the uproar here is that, well, wait a minute. The moon has been sighted. What's your problem? Why aren't you accepting it? And then those that are doing it based on moon sighting, generally speaking, they struggle to sight in UK. So they say, well, within that timeline, you've got the likes of Morocco and South Africa who have got a good setup. So if they sight the moon, we'll accept the sighting. Okay. And you've got New Crescent Society who have solely gone for UK. And I think, look, if we can get everyone within the UK to agree to that, that's fine. It's something worth, I suppose, considering, but it's all down to the ulama. to get together and agree on something. And I think you're going to have this split throughout. So I think what's important is, look, whichever masjid you're following, whichever day you're doing, go ahead and go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Don't basically fight over it. I think you're spoiling your Ramadan. You're starting off your Ramadan in this way, and it's not right. And I think that's really important. So that's the first thing. And by all means, I don't want to take my whole show just talking about this. I just wanted to clarify the two positions that people have, and it's important for you to accept that, understand that. One thing I've rated, I think within Wolverhampton, you've got Medina Masjid, Ford Street. They've always said throughout that we're doing it based on calculation. And you got to respect that, because they're open and honest with the people within the masjid. And I think that's what I'm looking at, that straight up, look, this is what we're doing it based on. Then if people are happy with that, they're happy with it. People can say, yeah, no, but day and age we're in, we need to do by calculation. That's an argument that you can make. All right? It's one of those arguments you can make. That's fine. Okay? So that's that. Now, what else you have is Sehri time. Iftar time, alhamdulillah. I remember we had a meeting and I said, look, surely we can all agree on iftar times. It's sunset. So for those that have that position. So that's not an issue. The issue probably is saying, oh, this one's 10 minutes early, this one's 10 minutes later, or 15 minutes, etc. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, we have many narrations of how the Prophet ﷺ delayed his suhoor. And you've got hadith on the Prophet ﷺ delaying his, he says that those that delay their suhoor and hasten towards the iftar will be on the right path. And we'll mention some of the hadiths later on. So when it comes to, again, these timings, there's different positions that have been taken. Accept whichever timetable you got from your local masjid, follow it and stick to it. Do not chop and change. One of the days you get a bit later, say, you know what, I'm going to take the later position. I'm gonna close my fast a bit later because this masjid does it at this time. So whatever position you're going to take it and stick to it. All right. If you want to be on the, what you say, precautionary measure, which is that probably close your fast a bit early, but do not pray your fajr until the later time. I think. But again, that's down to a person. I'm not going to turn around and say, look, do that. Whatever it says on your timetable, stick to it. You're fine. All right. So don't worry too much about it, and don't again cause big issues around it, because inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept your fast. But then all of this that you're doing just reduces the reward for the fast. Okay, and you want to maximize your reward for the fast. It's a month where you have reward is multiplied. Okay, and when we talk about reward multiplied 70 times, that doesn't mean just 70 times. It's like minimum 70 times. Then based on your intentions, it's like multiply so much more. So you want to be doing things in the best way possible. Okay, praying in the best way possible, reading Quran in the best way possible, spending your day in the best way possible, because you want to maximize your reward. And we need to maximize the reward. The amount that we sin as we are, we need to maximize our reward as much as possible. Okay, so this is important. So these are like the two key things that I wanted to mention. The third one is, I remember just speaking to my teacher a couple of days ago, and we just, I was planning on doing these just like 15-20 minutes iftar, small iftar. You can call them iftar bites, just before the bite itself, for the family and anyone else that wants to listen in on Zoom. And one of the members said that, can you initially talk about zakat? And we had this discussion, and I thought it's a good time to mention here. I know people always wait for Ramadan to give zakat, which is alhamdulillah okay. So generally speaking, the way it works is that when you started earning to a certain position, that's when your day really starts. But people tend to give it in Ramadan to get that extra reward. But the one thing that is common amongst us is that the males think that they don't have to give zakat. It's only the women who got the gold, and the women are actually probably regretting it a bit as well, that, oh, why did I have so much gold for my wedding? So the women that have the gold, there's zakat on it, yes, after a year has passed. But remember, for men as well, if you have money, so it's a bit difficult and to calculate, but I don't want to spend. I'm just trying to think here on my YouTube channel if I've got the lessons I've done on zakat, if they're available or not. But you can have a look there. They might be available. But I did lessons on zakat. A year kind of passes, and generally speaking, if you've got money and then you take out your immediate costs and then what's left over, zakat is due on that for men as also. So it's important that men also think about it as well. It's not just women because they've got gold, and men, we don't have gold, we don't have to pay zakat. No, it does not work like that. Okay, so this is important. I wanted to kind of get it out there. If people have any questions around it, by all means, they can approach me or approach your local imam, your local masjid, and by all means, they will help you out in this. And also, not only individuals, but businesses. Okay, if you've got your own business, zakat is due on the business as well. I think this is important as well, and people should be aware of that as well. Okay, so those are a few points that I want to get out there. Let me quickly mention, like I do every time, my riddle. I don't know how many people are going to go over it, but let's mention it. Okay, so the riddle. Shaking out of awe, settled by the beloved. I will be in paradise. Good news also delivered by the beloved. Okay. So who is it that I'm talking about here? I'll say once again, shaken out of awe, settled by the beloved. I will be in paradise. Good news also delivered by the beloved. One final time, I think. Shaken out of awe, settled by the beloved. I will be in paradise. Good news also delivered by the beloved. Sorry, I'm just having a look here because people are messaging me. Like I mentioned, we're on Facebook and YouTube at the moment. We're not on the radio. We'll get that sorted, inshallah. But I think it was important because the time was running, and at least we've got the recordings of Facebook and YouTube, and people can always, even later on, if they wish to, watch this. Okay, so moving on then, we've got a few minutes before our break, and we kick off about the Ramadan of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, so Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's relationship with Ramadan was was before the obligation to fast. Okay, it was during this month. Okay, I think we've come live broadcasting on radio now. So welcome those listening on radio. So welcome to Ramadan Radio Wolves. And we are currently talking about the current show, Seerah, Treading the Path. And we just described in the first half about, the moon and the split in Ramadan. And we spoke about Sehri times. And we spoke about zakat. So I won't kind of repeat it much, but by all means, people, the recordings will be available on Facebook and YouTube, so they can follow there. So the Prophet's relationship with Ramadan was before the obligation to fast. Okay, it was during this month that he would achieve kind of seclusion in Mount Hira, okay, and connect it with his Lord, and so to connect with his Lord. Furthermore, it was during Ramadan, whilst in the cave of Hira, that we have that famous event of the Jibreel alayhi salam, brought Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's eternal message. The revelation when Jibreel alayhi salam comes and says, recite in the name of your Lord who created. Okay, Surah Al. And in describing the revelation of the Quran, Allah has informed us and confirmed actually in several places that it was revealed in Ramadan. So the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was revealed, Surah Baqarah, verily we revealed it in the night of Qadr, Surah Qadr. Okay, so you have this blessing of Ramadan, and what's important here is, and I mentioned in the Quran, this connection between Ramadan and Quran, it's so strong. Hence why it's recommended, you increase your reading in your recitations in Ramadan. Right? One of the issues we have is, I was just speaking to one of my friends before coming on radio, and you go, look, it's not about the fasting, it's not about the food and drink. Okay, it's more about getting the time to be able to do the ibadah. And I think this is the key here, because what we'll find is you got work, and before you're back from work, and before you know it, it's time to open your fast, and then you're just preparing for Tarawih, and then after Tarawih you're a bit tired. Oh, I just want to go to sleep now, right? So at what point do you get your ibadah in? And I think this is the important part, that plan your day out, be prepared about it, and talk, okay, I'm going to do this and this. Don't leave everything just to the weekend, because even when you do ibadah, a person gets exhausted. So you're reciting, you're not going to sit there and start reciting the Quran for about 4 or 5 hours. All right. After the first 20 minutes or half an hour, you're going to get tired. And I don't think it's not, I would say that it's not recommended as well, because you should have full attention. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, full attention when you're reciting the Quran or you're listening to the Quran. So after about 15, 20 minutes or half an hour, if you're kind of, this is one of the things bad adab is, to turn the page to see, when is this juz about to finish. That's bad adab. Okay. But that's when people start doing, how much have I got left? I'm getting a bit tired here now. How much have I got left? So in short, when you're concentrating, then take a break. Get your tasbih, do some zikr, prayer, qada prayers. If you've got qada prayers to make up, do that. Then come back and recite the Quran. So plan your day. I mean, don't leave it all until the weekend. I'm sure you'll have some time during the weekdays as well. Whether it's straight after suhoor before you have to go out to work, or whether it's, we still have a bit of time. The Tarawih is not as late this time around, so around about 9:30 everyone is pretty much finished, and you still have about an hour or so. We can get some ibadah in then. Okay, so this is important. Plan the day and make the most of it. Right? I know we're early days now, but as happens all the time, you're going to be hearing, Ramadan has gone by so fast. Right? The question, which is fine, the question is more about how much have you maximized Ramadan? How much have you maximized that reward that you're getting, the blessing of Ramadan? And straight after the break, we'll speak about Ramadan and how blessed it is. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ, when Ramadan, even before Ramadan actually, he would make the dua, oh Allah, make Rajab and Shaban blessed for us and grant us Ramadan. It's almost like the end game was always get to Ramadan. Okay, and even when Ramadan would come, he would make a special dua. When the month of Ramadan, he said, oh Allah, give me security, health and well-being in Ramadan, and safeguard Ramadan for me and protect me from your disobedience in it. Okay, he made this dua. He would congratulate everyone on the coming of Ramadan. So everyone would congratulate each other on the coming of Ramadan, and we'll kind of kick off again from that point after the break, inshallah. So we'll be back after this break. Jazakallah.
Eurofit Auto Centres, the leading MOT and service centres in West Midlands, are recruiting technicians, MOT testers and managers. There's a starting salary of £30,000 based on experience, and a minimum 5 years experience is necessary. For details, call Rashad at Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045. That's Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045.
Northern Gas Heating, celebrating 24 years of reliable heating and renewable energy solutions for your home. We have unbeatable offers on gas boilers, fully installed by our professional engineers. If your business or home is paying high electricity prices, call for a free Northern Gas Heating quote for cost-effective solar PV with battery storage. Visit northerngasheating.com or call 0800 083 1000.
Ramadan Kareem from Premier Tyres, suppliers of the tyres you can rely on for safe driving, as they're the only link between your vehicle and the road. And as well as leading tyre brands, Premier's your reliable go-to garage for servicing, spares, repairs and MOTs. Now available, Wolverhampton taxi plated cars for hire. Now Uber and Bolt ready, so you can run your business in confidence. For details, visit Premier Tyres, Crown Street, WV1 1PX. Call 01902 455 684 or visit premiertyreservices.com.
Experience the AK Windows difference. Visit our HQ at Economic House, Salisbury Street, Wolverhampton, WV3 OBG. Discover quality UPVC and aluminium windows, doors, roof lanterns, bifolding doors and composite doors in various styles. Offering glass and UPVC repairs too. With over 30 years of experience, AK Windows is your trusted choice for both trade and retail. For free quotations, call 01902 421 500 or visit akwindows.co.uk. Elevate your living with AK Windows. Precision, quality, satisfaction.
Midland Plastics and Plumbing Limited, your one-stop shop for home and bathrooms. A wide range of plumbing products and quality bathroom supplies in Wolverhampton. We supply underground drainage, guttering, roofing products, UPVC cladding and much more to the trade and public. This Ramadan we're offering 40% off all bathroom suites. Visit us online at midlandplasticsltd.co.uk or call us today on 01902 399 611, or why not visit in-store at Moore Street South, Wolverhampton, WV2 3JN.
Mubi Bass Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment. Suppliers of leading brands, Samsung, Sony, and Panasonic. We supply and fit all car audio systems, top brands, Kenwood, Bose, and we're an authorized supplier of Vibe product. Visit our store online at mubibase.co.uk and order today for next day delivery. Mubi Bass Electronics are proud sponsors of Wolverhampton Wanderers FC. Call us today for a free quote on 01902 754 546 and quote Ramadan 20 for 10% off. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Mubi Bass Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment.
Khan Builders offer a full range of building services, from major rebuilds to small projects, home improvements, kitchen fitting, plastering, bathroom fitting, extensions and much more. We pride ourselves on providing a professional, caring and high quality service and always meet our customers' needs. Contact Khan Builders today on 07813 950 265 for a free quotation from Khan Builders. We've all spent a lot of time at home lately, and it's time to notice those carpets really need replacing. Let's be honest, we don't want to go from shop to shop, do we? Well, Perfect Carpets can save you the time and bring perfection to your floor. Over 1,000 high-quality styles and colours. Carpets start from only £3 per square yard. Rugs from £30. There's free measurements and free quotation with exclusive trade discounts to landlords and builders. You can't get any more perfect. Make your home with Perfect Carpets, the Black Country's biggest carpet store. Call us today on 01902 428 833 or visit us at 21 to 25 Snow Hill, Wolverhampton, WV2 4AD, and quote Ramadan Radio for 5% off your next order.
Quick Build Construction Limited offer a full range of building services, from major rebuilds to small projects, home improvements, kitchen fitting, plastering, bathroom fitting, extensions and much more. We pride ourselves on providing a professional, caring and high-quality service and always meet our customers' needs. Contact Quick Build Construction today on 07813 950 265 for a free quotation from Quick Build Construction.
Do you have a family member that's passed away and you would like someone to assist you in legal advice? Kenneth Jones Solicitors has been providing legal services for businesses and individuals since 1986. We specialise in probate, Islamic wills and family law. We also offer services in conveyancing, immigration and personal injury. Contact us today on 01902 745 773 or visit us on our website at kenneth-jones.co.uk.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to Ramadan Radio Wolves after the break for the show Seerah Treading the Paths, where we speak about key events or key things from the life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that then we can take and then apply to ourselves here. I think, so before the break, we spoke about, I started off speaking about the current topic issues when it comes to split Ramadan start date and Sehri and Zakat. But also we started off about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam welcoming Ramadan. And moving on then, when we speak about Ramadan itself, so and I've mentioned this a few times actually, but I think it's important for people to then, when in Arabic, or when we come out with certain like Psalm, Salah, Zakat, all of these kind of words, they have like an underlying meaning, that there was a meaning prior to when it was implemented into the Sharia or in Islam. And the same thing with Ramadan, called a intercalated calendar. So they used a kind of lunar calendar and added in a month sometimes to correct the changes of the season. Okay, so Ramadan always fell in summer, in the heat of summer. So imagine that. Ramadan was always in the heat of summer, and that in Arabia as well. So the seasons are different here, compared to the desert. You have kind of season when things start to grow and you have intense heat, summer. That's the kind of, suppose, the two you have there. It's different here. So originally in the calendar, when things start to grow, was known as Rabi. Okay, so you have Rabi al-Awwal, the first spring, when the desert bloomed. Okay, and it's not a coincidence that the Prophet ﷺ was born in Rabi al-Awwal, okay, in the month that the desert blooms. So the month of Ramadan was the month of the height of summer, the month of kind of intense heat in the desert. So this is actually the meaning of Ramadan. So Ramd means intense heat, right? It means actually to burn away impurities, right? So Ramd is when you take a piece of iron, you heat it, then cool it, and then heat, etc., to get rid of the impurities, all right? And that's what we take from it, okay? So it's an opportunity. So fasting is about purifying the soul, all right? Fasting, purifying the soul, and the month of Ramadan is about purifying the soul. All right? So the significance is that Ramadan burns away the impurities of sinfulness with the heat of good deeds. Right? And I think this is really important. And subhanAllah, even when you look at the likes of Psalm and Salah and Zakat, when you look at the actual word, so this is what you need to understand here, is that when the Prophet ﷺ mentioned certain things, the Arabs there, they would have known that word, but they would have known it for a different reason. And then when you kind of link it to an act of worship that's being done, it has so much more of a meaning for us. Okay, subhanAllah. So moving on, then we have the kind of virtues of fasting. So along with the virtues of the month, he would also enlighten the virtues and significance of fasting. So Abu Hurairah narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever fasts in Ramadan with faith and for the pleasure of Allah, we will excuse me, we will have all his previous sins forgiven. Okay, he'll have all his previous sins forgiven. So the Prophet ﷺ also said that the fast is a shield from hell, just like one of your shields protects you in battle. And my ummah has two sanctuaries, the fast and the nightly qiyam, so prayer at night. Okay, so every good deed is rewarded by 10 to 700 except the fast. There's no limit. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I will be its reward. And you can't imagine it. You can't imagine this, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala proclaims that the fast is for me and I am its reward. Okay. So we'll quickly mention about, when we spoke about the key words of the linguistic definition, fasting is to abstain or hold oneself back from something. Okay, so the original meaning of the word som, the bridle of a mount, used to hold it back from galloping and to direct it. This was the original meaning of it. Okay, so we can apply it to ourselves that your nafs is like a horse. If you don't control it, it will control you. right? And this is what we take from it. So fasting, when you look at the meaning, is to abstain or hold oneself back from something. And imagine this throughout the, yes, you've got food and drink, but then you got all these additional things. You're stopping yourself from any sins, right? So if you can stop yourself for the amount of hours, why can't you do it all the time? Okay, we love our food. Okay, we love our food, and if we can kind of restrain ourselves, refrain from eating, right, because shows that we have control. And if we got control, that shows that then we can have control on everything else as well. Okay, these are the key messages you take from it. So intentions, your actions are based on intentions. So as with previous, these are, we spoke about reward. So any normal action, you're rewarded 10 times. Okay, if you intend to do an action but don't do it, you're rewarded. This is the blessing and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So any action you do, you're rewarded 10 times. Any action you intend to do but don't do it, you're still rewarded for it. Okay, any sin that you're about to commit but you don't do it, it's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just excuse after excuse to give you more and more reward. Okay, then you have like a multiplier. So you got 10 times, but then you have a multiplier, which you can call the kind of X factor, the multiplication factor, depending on your level of sincerity. So actions may be rewarded 10 times, 100 times, 700 times. Then it could be 700 squared. So initially you have your kind of 10, 100, 700. That's your initial. Even bringing in this Ramadan factor, let's leave that to a side. That's initial. And then you kind of, it's 700 squared, 700 cubed, 7 to the power 4 and so forth. Okay? You need like a powerful calculator for this. This is when it's in the month of Ramadan. Okay, so you can multiply by another 70 because this is the month of... So understand, so before even when the Ramadan comes in, your reward can be signified so much. And then when Ramadan comes in, okay, you then multiply by another 70. Okay, it increases it so much more. So you can imagine how much reward. So we speak about praying a Nafil prayer is like praying Sunnah. Praying a Sunnah prayer is like praying Fard. And praying Fard is like, so much more reward. So why would you not want to maximize this? Okay. So then when it came to moving on with the Ramadan of the Prophet ﷺ, and we speak a bit about Sehri. And we spoke right at the start about, look, don't worry too much about it. Don't get overworked out about it. Just focus on what you're doing. Focus on, whatever times are on your local masjid timetable. Stick to that. Okay. Stick to that. When you're going to try to be like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, then the ownership's on you. At the moment, the ownership's on your, the relevant party within your masjid who creates the timetables, who's given you the times. So you're covered. Okay. The Prophet ﷺ time and time again described the Sehri as a blessed meal. Okay. He said the Prophet ﷺ invited me to Sehri in Ramadan by saying, come, join in the blessed meal. Okay. He would perform Sehri with dates, and even when you look at it, the amount you get from dates, for your body, nutrition, etc., and all that, there's so much blessing to it. So the Prophet ﷺ, he had dates. He had dates for Sehri. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ ordered. Saying that Anas narrates, the Prophet ﷺ ordered me to prepare Sehri because he intended to fast. So I brought dates and a pan filled with water. So dates and water. Okay. The best Sehri of the believer is dates. Okay. And you compare this to our Sehri. Right. It's like an opportunity to let's just stuff ourselves as much as possible. Pranta after pranta. Whatever I can find, and biryani and whatnot. And actually that has a negative effect on you. Right, so you need to just be a bit, and I'm not saying that don't eat anything at all, right? Look at it, be clever about what you're eating. Look at what's going to maintain, so keep you hydrated to an extent, make sure you don't kind of feel hungry straight away, because all the sugary items, etc., they'll give you that boost initially, but then it'll go very quickly. Okay, it'll go very quickly. So the Prophet ﷺ said, perform Sehri even if one sip of water. For surely Allah and His angels send mercy upon those who perform Sehri. Okay? And the Prophet ﷺ supplicated for barakah in his ummah's sehri. Okay? He says, "Oh Allah, bless my ummah in their sehri," time and time again. Okay? After this, he ordered the eating of sehri, even if it was just one sip of water or one date, because the angels supplicated for those who perform sehri. Okay? He Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would describe the benefits and wisdoms in sehri. Okay? The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam described the blessed meal. You know, what meal could be more blessed than the one which helps and aids obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Seek the help of the sehri in your day's fast, and seek the help of the siesta, like rest in your night. Okay? There's also narrations when it comes to the Prophet ﷺ delaying his sehri. So the Prophet ﷺ would not be kind of hasty in performing his sehri, rather he would delay it as much as possible. In other words, he would kind of perform sehri close to the breaking of dawn. Abdullah ibn Abbas narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said that my ummah will remain on good as long as they delay their sehri and hasten their iftar. Okay? And I'll mention this a bit later as well, but first of all, let's look at sehri, because the Prophet ﷺ says what kind of differentiates us from the people of the book is that we have sehri, because there was a case of you just sleep all the way through and that's it, continue, whatnot. Okay. Then you have kind of the increase in the recitation of the Quran, and I mentioned this before. Abdullah ibn Umar narrates that the fast in the Quran will both intercede for the servant on the day of Qiyamah. Okay, the fast will plead, "O Lord, I prevented him from food and desire during the day." The Quran will plead, "I prevented him from sleep at night." Right? So they'll intercede for you. So even though reciting the Quran was the norm for the Prophet ﷺ, right? And again, this is something that we need to make a habit of. Right? And I always say this, that what you're doing in Ramadan should kind of flow through, and you should be doing it throughout. The only, I suppose, differentiator would be that you probably wouldn't wake up before Fajr and have some food, okay? And, you know, maybe not as long Qiyam at night, right? Apart from that, pretty much everything else, right? Yes, you can throw in your lunch, etc., whatnot, while eating, but when it comes to other actions, let's take the food element out of it, other actions, that should flow through. That should be, you know, continually taking place. So the Prophet ﷺ, it was his norm to recite the Quran throughout the year. You know, he would increase its recitation during the month of Ramadan. Okay, and though he always recited a great deal of Quran, you know, in his Nawafil and Tahajjud of, you know, ordinary nights, his recitation in the nights of Ramadan would be longer. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ close companion, Sayyidina Huzaifa, described the recitation in Ramadan. One night in Ramadan, I had the honor of praying with him, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He recited Surah Baqarah, then Ali Imran, and then An-Nisa. When he reached the verse of fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet had not even completed 2 rakats when Bilal called the adhan for Fajr. Okay, so in other words, the recitation lasted the whole night. Okay. That's why Imam Ibn Hajar mentioned this. Okay, so he would recite to others the whole Quran in Ramadan, right? And we have the narrations of Jibreel alayhi salam coming, and almost like the revision of the Quran with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Throughout Ramadan, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also would show so much more, you know, kindness. Okay, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the most kind, you know, generous person. You know, no needy person ever left from him empty, even if he had nothing himself, right? He would borrow and fulfill the needs of others. You have so much kind of, it's almost like he on one narration where he gave a gift to someone, and then someone came and asked, you know, give me something as well, and he had nothing left. So he requested the person he gave the gift to, he goes, "Can I borrow this from you? And then I'll give you back." So he had just gifted that person. "Can I borrow it from you to give this person?" And then it's like, you know, "I owe you now. I'm going to gift you again something else." You know, this was it, and it came from him in the first place. Okay. So although his generosity grew with each day when the the moon of Ramadan was sighted, his generosity increased even further when, during Ramadan. The companions state that they saw the Prophet ﷺ shower generosity in Ramadan faster than the wind. And it's made by Abdullah ibn Abbas states that the Prophet ﷺ was the most generous of all the people, but was even more generous in the month of Ramadan. And when Jibreel would arrive, his showering of generosity was faster than the sweeping wind. Okay, so you got so much more on the Prophet ﷺ generosity throughout the month of Ramadan, and we need to take from there as well. Okay, the wisdom behind it is increased generosity is that in Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases reward and blessings upon even one of his servants, every one of his servants. And the Prophet ﷺ would also adopt this practice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be generous with the people. Okay, charity of this month is more virtuous than the charity of other months. Okay? The charity gives support to those fasting and fulfilling Allah's command, and giver receives equivalent. So you basically give to someone who's fasting or open their fast, you receive the same reward. Okay, you receive the same reward. Okay, combining fasting and charity leads to the attainment of Jannah. Okay, so the Ali narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said that there is a place in paradise. The Sahaba asked, for who shall that be? And he replied, for he whose speech is good, who feeds others and prays at night when others sleep. Okay, throughout the month of Ramadan, or throughout whenever he's fasting, the Prophet ﷺ would use a miswak while fasting. Okay, so every person of understanding knows well how much the Prophet ﷺ loved the miswak. Okay, he even used it while fasting. Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi narrate that this practice of the Prophet ﷺ, he says, I saw the Prophet using miswak while fasting on many and countless occasions. And it's something that is useful for us, because then you have these question marks around about, can you brush your teeth with toothpaste while fasting, etc. But when miswak, no question about it. So keeping your mouth fresh, especially when you got work and interacting with other people or whatnot. Okay. There's so much more when you're describing the etiquette of fasting, and then you have the iftar. Okay, and it was one of the miracles of the Prophet's teaching that his companions did not perform iftar alone, but involved the poor and destitute of society with them. So they would come back. If there was no one to open the fast with, they would go out looking for someone poor to come and open the fast with us. Okay, he performed the iftar before prayer. So the Prophet would perform iftar before the Maghrib prayer. So here we are, trying to kind of point out that the Prophet would hasten towards breaking his fast, not delaying it. Right? Let me pray, let me get it all out the way, and then I'm going to sit down, and that's it. So actually, what is it? And it's an interesting point here. Then, how should we go about doing this? Is it a case of we open our fast, then go off and pray, and then come back and eat? Or do we open our fast and eat everything that we want to, and then go and pray? Because Maghrib is a prayer that you should be praying, hasten towards praying. So what the scholars say is that you eat as much as your mind is then no longer distracted. So when you're praying, you're not thinking of food. So eat as much that, okay, stomach is a bit, that's fine, I'm not thinking of food, go off and pray. And then if you want to, then come back and eat. But also you can, if it's a case of it's just going to take you about 5-10 minutes to eat, and you're not eating much, then by all means then eat, then go off and pray. Okay? So this is the thing here, the practical side of it. Okay? Now, what you have is basically, you got this kind of macho image. It's a case of, you know what, I don't need to open my fast. I'm going to go off and pray. I'm going to go off and pray my tarawis, etc. And later on, I'll see if I'm feeling hungry. Then I'll eat something. No, but this is what distinguishes. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ says, hasten towards iftar. You've got this thing of breakfast. It's like and positions is that it's the break fast, and this is what they would do. That throughout they just go to sleep throughout. And then we spoke about Seerah as well. And in the morning, this is when they would break fast. Okay, so we distinguish. So the Prophet ﷺ says, hasten towards your opening your fast. So when the time comes, open your fast. Don't try to be a macho. No, I can carry on. Don't worry. You call this a fast. But then you also have those that they'll kind of stuff their face throughout the night, go to sleep, and the next time they're gonna wake up is probably about an hour before iftar, and say, yeah, I didn't really feel the fast. This wasn't that difficult, was it? We didn't know. That's not the point of fasting. When fasting is continue with your daily life. Okay, do as much ibadah, etc. You should feel it. Okay, that's the point. It reminds you. The secondary element of it is reminding you of the poor. We still, at the end of the day, are going to have the opportunity to eat, but the poor won't have that as well. Okay, so there's so many lessons that we can learn from it. And again, with the iftar, you had, as with Seerah, you had the dates and the dates and water. So the items that the Prophet ﷺ preferred for iftar were dates and water. Okay, Anas ibn Malik narrates that the Prophet ﷺ performed iftar with fresh dates. If there weren't any, then with dry dates, and if there weren't any, then with water. Right. So this is it. And even if when we're eating, right, so we open our fast with what? Dates. If you don't have dates, open with water, preferably with Zamzam water. Okay, then kind of move on to your, I don't know, whatever else you've got lined up for you. But what we try to do is we try to implement the sunnah as much as possible. And I've mentioned this previously as well, when the Sahaba they were on a camel and they were on a road, and then they went off the road, off the track. There was a tree, went around the tree, and then continued. And the rest said, what was the point of that? He goes, the Prophet ﷺ, I was with the Prophet ﷺ, he did this. I don't know why he did it, but I want to do it. To every little detail, they wanted to just follow the Prophet ﷺ in every way possible. Okay? And this is what we need to do, because the Prophet ﷺ was the best of creation. He would do everything in the best way possible. So we want to implement that. We want to do it in the best way possible and gain as much reward as possible in the month of Ramadan. I think this is important. Okay. Then you also have the use of milk. So on most occasions he would have dates and water for iftar, but sometimes he would also have milk. Okay. So we're kind of about a few minutes left now. Just quickly mention the Salatul Tarawih. Abu Hurairah narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever stands to pray in Ramadan through faith and for Allah's pleasure, all his sins from the past will be forgiven. Okay, and Abu Hurairah also narrates that the Prophet would encourage the Qiyam prayer of Ramadan, but would not order it with compulsion. So it's an opportunity where you're standing up, Qiyam al-Layl basically, standing up to pray. And you're getting, remember what I said about that sunnah action gets a fard reward. So in the month of Ramadan, your reward is multiplied so much. So you got that initial, you've made your intention, you multiply your rewards. That can be 10 times, 100 times, 700 times. Then then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you your reward based on your intention. Then on top of that, when in the month of Ramadan, everything is multiplied by a further 70. Any simple action by a further 70. So, mashallah, your right shoulder, the angel to be tired kind of thing, writing down all these rewards. We're going to need to maximize as much as possible, inshallah. Quickly, we're just finishing off. I'm going to mention the riddle that those that probably didn't catch, so I'll give you the answer next week. I don't know how many of you follow the riddles, but there you go. Something that we started and will continue. So the riddle is shaking out of awe, settled by the beloved. I will be in paradise. Good news also delivered by the beloved. So once again, shaken out of awe, settled by the beloved. I will be in paradise. Good news also delivered by the beloved. So this is linked to the Seerah. So it's going to obviously be something related to the Seerah. So it shows how many people have been paying attention previously. We'll get the answer there. So finishing off then, inshallah, this week we spoke about the Prophet's Ramadan. Following on the remaining weeks, what I've done so often is that we speak about the Meccan period, and before we reach the Medinan period, our shows are over. So this time around, I decided I want to try to focus a bit on the Medinan period, So we'll speak a bit more about the Medinan period and lessons that we can learn from the Medinan period. And I think that's important as well for us. So inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the ability to take from all of this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq, ability to maximize our time in the month of Ramadan. All right. Do not take it lightly. Right. First of all, don't overburden yourself as well, actually, because I think what happens is that the example I always use is of, in a cricket match, you got the initial overs where the run rate is sky high, then it dips down a bit, and then right at the end it jumps up again. So this tends to happen in Ramadan, where initially everyone's like full of energy, and then they burn themselves out, and then you got the middle period where everyone's just about surviving, and then right at the end, right, you got that boost again. Just remain steadfast throughout with the people in the middle. You know, the Prophet ﷺ described Muslims as the middle path. You know, not too extreme, not too leaning to one side. It's the middle path. So take that middle path and plan your days. You know, as long as you've got this minimum amount of recitation you've done, minimum amount of zikr you've done, the prayers, etc. And then anything additional, if you feel that you have the energy to do, you can do, inshallah. Okay. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. Remember me in your du'as as well. Make plenty of du'as. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all our ibadah. It's really important, and help us to throughout this month of Ramadan. And all those that have passed away, is actually make dua for them. They've not had the ability. They were with us last Ramadan. They are not now. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. Sallallahu Sayyidina Maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim wa salli alayhi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair.